In this podcast episode, Dr. Ramani, a licensed clinical psychologist and expert on narcissism, discusses the prevalence and impact of narcissism in relationships, work, and society. She explains that narcissism is on a spectrum, ranging from Instagram saviors to cult leaders. At the severe end of the spectrum, narcissists lack empathy, dominate others, and exhibit manipulative behaviors. Dr. Ramani highlights the damaging effects of narcissism on relationships. Narcissistic individuals may start off charming and charismatic, but later display dismissiveness, manipulation, and gaslighting. Victims of narcissistic relationships often experience psychological harm, self-blame, and a loss of identity. The behavior of narcissistic partners can be unpredictable and psychologically unsafe, leading to emotional distress for their partners. In the workplace, narcissistic bosses can create a toxic environment where employees feel undervalued and unsafe. Signs of a narcissistic boss include a lack of empathy, unpredictability, and a focus on their own needs over others. Employees may feel unseen and unappreciated, leading to a negative work environment. Dr. Ramani discusses the implications of having narcissistic world leaders. While narcissistic leaders may appear confident and charismatic on the surface, their lack of empathy and manipulative tendencies can have negative consequences on a global scale. The question of whether it is preferable to have a narcissistic leader in response to an adversary who is also narcissistic is raised, highlighting the complexities of leadership dynamics. Dr. Ramani emphasizes that narcissism is characterized by traits such as grandiosity, arrogance, low empathy, entitlement, and a need for admiration. Narcissistic individuals may exhibit dismissiveness, manipulation, and anger, especially when their ego is threatened. It is important to differentiate between someone having a bad day and a narcissist, as narcissists lack accountability and the willingness to change their behavior. Dr. Ramani explains 4 types of narcissism: grandiose, vulnerable, malignant, and communal. Grandiose narcissism is characterized by showy behavior and a sense of superiority, while vulnerable narcissism manifests as victimization and resentment. Malignant narcissism involves manipulation, exploitation, and vindictiveness, often bordering on psychopathy. Communal narcissism is driven by a desire for validation through good deeds, ranging from Instagram activism to cult leadership. The prevalence of narcissism is difficult to measure accurately, but Dr. Ramani estimates that 1 in 6 people have narcissistic personality disorder. She suggests that around 15 to 18% of the population may exhibit traits of narcissism, with higher rates in metropolitan areas, certain industries, and specific cultures. The lack of reliable data on narcissism makes it challenging to determine the true extent of the issue. Dr. Ramani believes that narcissism cannot be cured, as it involves fundamental aspects of a person's personality. While some individuals may show micro-changes in behavior, such as increased accountability or insight, these changes are often minimal and may not address the underlying narcissistic traits. The impact of narcissism on relationships and the difficulty of changing deeply ingrained behaviors make it unlikely for narcissism to be fully cured. Dr. Ramani explains that narcissism can stem from a combination of genetic predispositions and childhood experiences. Children with vulnerable temperaments who experience adversity or neglect, as well as those who are overvalued and excessively praised, are at higher risk of developing narcissistic traits. These early experiences shape their sense of self and their interactions with others. Dr. Ramani notes that narcissistic individuals are often successful in professional settings due to their ambition, competitiveness, and willingness to prioritize their own goals. They may excel in leadership roles, drive innovation, and make bold decisions that propel them to the top of their fields. However, their success can come at the expense of ethical considerations and interpersonal relationships. The conversation also touches on the relationship between wealth and narcissism. While money can breed entitlement and self-centeredness, it is not the sole determinant of narcissistic traits. Individuals who feel wealthier or have a higher socioeconomic status may exhibit behaviors that prioritize their own interests over others, reflecting a sense of privilege and entitlement. Dr. Ramani mentions that some individuals come to her acknowledging their narcissistic tendencies and even self-identify as narcissists. These self-aware narcissists may view their traits as strengths and rationalize their behavior as necessary for success. They may have a checklist-like awareness of their narcissistic traits and justify them as essential for achieving their goals. Dr. Ramani explains that narcissists attract a wide range of people due to their charm and charisma. They are often rated as more attractive than others and take good care of their physical appearance. Vulnerable narcissists may also attract individuals who feel the need to rescue them. People who are empathic, forgiving, and optimistic are more likely to get stuck in narcissistic relationships. Narcissistic relationships start strong, with the narcissistic person being attentive, charming, and focused on the other person. However, over time, they may become dismissive, rude, and lacking in empathy. The devaluing stage begins, and the person in the relationship may start blaming themselves for the problems. The relationship becomes a cycle of good days sprinkled in with passive-aggressive behavior, minimizing and withholding. In the past, people may not have realized they were in a narcissistic relationship due to feelings of loyalty and confusion. However, with more information available online, individuals are becoming more aware of the signs of narcissism in their relationships. Early identification can help them make clear-headed decisions about how to proceed. Dr. Ramani discusses the 3 R's, rumination, regret, and euphoric recall, as hallmarks of negative relationships. Rumination involves obsessive thinking about the relationship. Regret focuses on feelings of grief and missed opportunities, and euphoric recall involves focusing on the positive aspects of the relationship while ignoring the negatives. Gaslighting is a form of emotional abuse where the gaslighter denies, attacks, and reverses the victim and offender roles to manipulate the other person's reality. Projection is when someone accuses another person of feeling or behaving in a way that they themselves are feeling or behaving. Narcissists often use gaslighting and projection to control and manipulate others. When being gaslit, it is important to recognize the manipulation and not engage with the gaslighter. By disengaging and not trying to prove them wrong, individuals can protect their own reality and mental well-being. Dr. Ramani believes that all domestic abusers are narcissistic, as the behavior of emotional, physical, or sexual abuse displays a lack of empathy, entitlement, and arrogance. She emphasizes that such behavior is unacceptable, regardless of the individual's backstory or personality traits. Dr. Ramani provides strategies for dealing with narcissistic individuals, including setting boundaries, practicing self-care, and seeking support from friends, family, or a therapist. She emphasizes the need to prioritize one's well-being and not engage in toxic dynamics with narcissists. She also discusses the challenges of confronting narcissists and the importance of documenting their behavior for validation. Dr. Ramani discusses how not engaging with narcissists and being authentic can be their kryptonite. By refusing to participate in their manipulative games and showing genuine self-expression, individuals can disarm narcissists and protect themselves from further harm. She also mentions that narcissists may be intimidated by individuals who are more powerful or confident than them. While leaving a narcissistic relationship may be the best option for some, Dr. Ramani acknowledges that not everyone can easily exit such dynamics. She advocates for radical acceptance, where individuals acknowledge that the narcissistic behavior will not change and focus on self-preservation. She encourages building a support network of empathic and respectful individuals to counteract the effects of narcissistic abuse. Dr. Ramani acknowledges that finding happiness in a relationship with a narcissist is challenging, but not impossible. She suggests focusing on shared interests or activities that bring joy while maintaining realistic expectations. She also highlights the importance of authenticity in relationships with narcissistic individuals, as they may feel threatened by genuine expressions of self. Dr. Ramani shares a personal experience of being stalked and sexually assaulted, highlighting the trauma and fear she endured. She discusses the challenges of seeking help and the importance of dissociation as a coping mechanism. Despite the difficult experience, Dr. Ramani emphasizes the power of awareness, therapy, and support in overcoming trauma and healing from narcissistic abuse. The host commends Dr. Ramani for her impactful work in raising awareness about narcissism and its effects. He reflects on how her books and content have inspired him to be a better person and reassess his own behaviors. Dr. Ramani's expertise and advocacy for mental health and well-being have helped countless individuals navigate toxic relationships and prioritize self-care.